Let's begin our prayer as is our custom, marking ourselves with the sign of our commitment in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. May grace and peace and love of our God be with all of you. And with your spirit. Please be seated. We're going to begin our celebration by bringing us some focus on the life of an extraordinary woman who changed all of us. And so Margaret will begin.
Pam is in the house. Pam Rector had the biggest heart of anyone I know. Pam would sign her cards with a special heart that was always a part of her Christmas letter border design. A heart with 6 rays coming out of what she and Grace called the family heart. Grace and the big kids decided it was Pam's 6 greatest personal loves: Grace, Aurelie, Ollie, Liz, Sherman, and George. We gathered today sharing the privilege of being touched by Pam and reflecting together on the legacy we individually and collectively carry forward. Those 6 lines of the family heart are also visual reminders of 6 ways that all of us can honor her memory, keep her work alive, and learn from the lessons she taught us in order to love like Pam. First, seek God. Pam wrote in Grace's confirmation letter, "We don't often talk about how we experience God in our lives, or even if we have a picture of God in our head. For me, I have a very female picture of God. I hope that the God you imagine loves you unconditionally, that no matter what you do, mistakes you make, people you might hurt, God is there to say, I love you. And I know you'll make better decisions next time." Pam consciously nurtured her relationship with God and took a 3-year course to be certified in spiritual direction. She said she didn't have any spiritual directees. But how many of us can say that she has accompanied us on our spiritual journeys? Let us seek God in order to love like Pam. Second, create family. 23 years ago, when Pam was at Lenox Middle School, she participated in an adopt-a-student program designed for one-to-one relationship building. And Pam didn't just take one student, she took 4 kids and made them promise to do things together, and she continued to gather together the big kids for the rest of her life. Pam committed to lifelong relationships in her work and in her service to others. She was the initiator with her friends group, sending the gathering call out to the single mothers, the cookie exchange girls, and the comadres. Pam created the family she wanted. Let us create family in order to love like Pam. Third, speak truth. Pam boldly spoke the truth, asked the difficult questions, announced the elephants in the room. She asked questions to better understand and then spoke truth directly to power. How often did she change many of our minds, change many of our paths, help us refocus on service and love? Let us speak truth in order to love like Pam. Fourth, loved to laugh, and she loved when other people were laughing. She had dark humor and light humor and totally inappropriately interjected humor. Pam was the original woohoo! She made small and large celebrations. She'd celebrate half birthdays, first periods, Grace's first crush back. Let us laugh and celebrate in order to love like Pam. Fifth, give generously. Pam gave generously of her time and her resources. You knew you'd been on Pam's mind when you woke up to an article that she'd sent you at 2:20 a.m. about something you'd been concerned about. Pam not only gave money to her favorite organizations, she'd also volunteer, be on the board, support the leaders of these organizations, and encourage all of us to participate. Every November and December, Pam's house looked like Santa's workshop with Amazon boxes for St. Margaret Center piled high to her ceiling. Let us give generously in order to love like Pam. Sixth, receive with gratitude. Pam's license plate is grateful. She lived in daily little gratitudes as she practiced being grateful and seeing the good in every situation. Pam intended to write a book entitled Donor, Donor, Donor to share her biggest gratitudes. Sperm donor 5128. That brought her greatest joy and pride, Grace, into the world. And the other donors were her first kidney donor that gave her life, and her second kidney donor that gave her hope. Pam asked for her heart's desires and received those gifts with gratitude. Let us receive with gratitude in order to love like Pam. And who will always remind us to love like Pam? Grace Rector. Grace, thank you for sharing your mama with us. We want all of our hearts to be part of your family heart. We want you to feel your mama's love surrounding you through each one of us. And whenever we seek God, we create family, we speak truth, we laugh and celebrate, we give generously, and we receive with gratitude. We will continue to love like Pam. Let us be your family. We'll be your family heart, spiraling love out to the world.
I'm really glad someone got the sperm donor joke out of the way before I got it. One of the times I was visiting Pam, a nurse tried to stop me, or at least I thought she was trying to stop me, and she said, "Who is she to you?" And what I realized was there had been a diversity and a quantity of visitors that was unusual to her. And so she was trying to figure out just who this woman was to so many of us. And it's a question that sticks with me today. My name is Patrick Furlong, and Pam was my boss, no doubt about it. I work in the Center for Service in Action, but she was, of course, more than that. She was a mentor of mine for 18 years. I like to tell people that Pam found me in college and really put up with me when I was anything but easy to put up with, as some people in this room may be able to attest to. And so, at a time in my life when I just desperately needed a mother figure and needed a strong figure in my life, Pam was that. Flash forward several years, and when we brought my son home from the hospital, Pam was the very first person to see us when we arrived at home. But as my wife says, it wasn't one of those let me see the baby stops. She called, told me she was outside, and when I got outside, she had a trunk full of groceries for us. She asked pointedly how the three of us were doing, and then said, I'm going to get out of your way. I'm here for whatever you need. 20 minutes later, she called back and said, I lied, I'm downstairs. I woke up from a brief nap that I was able to get and went down to see her. And she had a rocking chair that she had used with Grace. As any parent can probably relate to, that rocking chair holds such incredible, fond memories of those first few fragile months of life. And I'm forever grateful that those memories are tied to the love that brought that chair into our living room. We could go on and on. She became the godmother to my son, and she gave him everything a 4-year-old should and should not have. As has already been alluded to, he also learned a few really choice words from her that I wish he would have learned much, much later in life. But should any of you have small children who would like to learn some 4-letter words, you'll be outside at the reception to teach you. So this was who she was to me, but I think the bigger question right now for me is, who is she to us in this LMU community? If you haven't looked around right now, this place is packed. There are people and spaces we have not seen in the longest time, and so who was she to us? CSA has been this incredible place of mourning all week. We've had students, staff, alumni, faculty, you name it, all dropping by to cry, but also laugh with us. And so in that grief, that's a question I've asked a lot of people, is who is she to you? And these are some of the answers that I've heard. She was compassionate. Our students, many of them shared stories of handwritten notes with that trademark heart Margaret so lovely spoke about. She was a force of nature. It's come up quite a lot, and my Lord, ain't that the truth. Someone else said, good luck if you were not on her side. I learned that the hard way a lot working with her. She was incredibly irreverent. And we all laugh because I think all of us have one, if not hundreds of stories that go somewhere along the lines of, and then you would not believe what Pam Rector said next. To that end, someone described her as surprising. And they said, you never knew what she was going to say, but it would just be exactly what you needed to hear. God, how I longed for that wisdom this week myself as we navigated this incredible loss. And so, who is she to you? Hold that thought in your heart. But equally important to Pam would be to say, who were we to her? I'll never forget the dreadful moment going back to my wife when we began to install my son's crib years ago. It was the first of what I learned were many humbling moments where I doubted my ability to be an adequate parent as we spent hours assembling, disassembling, and then frankly repeatedly cussing at these chunks of wood and screws that would not come together to be a bed quite the way I had hoped. So I called Pam up and I said, how on earth did you do this alone? I have a renewed respect for single parents. And Pam's response shouldn't surprise me. She said, I never did anything alone. I always had my village there with me. And so I think if there's one line that sums up Pam, to me at least it's this. Pam believed in life. None of us should ever stand alone. That's how she lived. As Pam stands before God now, we know she is not alone. We are here with her in this passing. Anthony, who was referenced earlier, and it's his birthday today, so I hope you'll say happy birthday to him when we go outside. But he donated his kidney to Pam in January, and he reflected before her passing on why he chose to be a donor. And I tell you all, when I hear these words, I hear Anthony, but I also feel as though I hear Pam speaking to us today. He said, people ask why I chose to donate. I've typically shared some nonchalant answer of because I can, but of course it's deeper than that. We are called to be in community with others, to support those in need. I'm blessed with a loving family, amazing friends, and colleagues who's given me that gift of life. So I chose to donate because life is meant to be shared with one another. So what do we do now? Let's not make any mistakes here. Pam was radical in her pursuit of community. Absolutely radical. Pam's in each of our hearts to comfort us, and I truly believe that, but I also think she's here to challenge us. You know, Pam chose community at all costs, and let's not fool ourselves. There were times where there were costs in choosing community, but Pam would never do anything different than choose community. And so for Pam, I implore all of us, choose community. Fight for justice and against injustice wherever you see it. Be mission-driven. When Pam was sick, as many of you know, she had our staff focus on gratitude. Think about that for a minute. In the midst of incredible pain, Pam clung to gratitude. On behalf of CSA, I want to thank many of you in Pam's honor. We've had more food, flowers, tears of solidarity, prayer cards, you name it, delivered to our office than we know what to do with. So many of you have wrapped so many of us in your warm embrace and journeyed alongside us as we stumble through our collective grief. How you have stood with us, that's LMU at its best. That's what Pam fought for, time and time again. And so like Pam, amidst this pain, I'm doing my best to stand in gratitude and to stand in community. You know, Pam lamented that shift in our culture that started to value the individual over the community, that put justice and kinship on the back burner. She fought it with every ounce of her being. So should we. Her irreverence to politics and optics, we all joke about it, but God, we're going to miss it. To her big kids, Arelle, Ale, George, German, and Liz, Pam chose you all to be cornerstones of her family. She went to you for this nourishment and then returned to us to be what she was to us. Thank you for sharing her with us. And grace, in Christian theology, grace commonly refers to an unconditional love, one so divine that we can't help but just stand in awe of it. Oh my God, she loved you so much. There were times where we had work to get done and she wouldn't shut up about you. I know a little too much, probably, but here we are. We stand in awe of your grace. She chose you. Very deliberately, she chose you. You are her ultimate testimony to love and to community. Pam, God, what I would give to hear you laugh. Just one more time. Or to share some profanity-filled chisme with you inappropriately inside this church right now. But here we are. Give Peg a hug for us all. We still miss her too. And I hope you don't worry about us. Because as I look around this room, I see people who are inspired by you to choose justice, to choose life. We're going to choose each other.
Down and all
an open letter to my mom. Dear Mama, thank you for choosing to be my mother. Your life could have taken so many different paths, but you decided when you were 42 years old that the next step on your journey was becoming a mother. You discerned, you prayed, and you asked others. Then finally you decided that being my mom was your God-given path. I will highlight only a few of the many skills that you taught me in the short but full 21 years that we had together. You taught me to be honest, to serve others wholeheartedly, and to love unconditionally. I remember growing up in a world in which you always told me the truth. While most parents shield their children from pain and fill their children's lives with fairy tales, you were always honest. No matter how difficult the truth was. Sometimes I wish you would sugarcoat things to help the bad news go down, but I will always be grateful for your trust in my maturity to understand the world for how it is. You taught me that sharing the truth builds confidence in your friends and in all your relationships. I have turned into a very open person who hides nothing from others because I want so deeply to share truth and create love in my friendships and relationships. You taught me to serve others and to be a woman for others. Throughout my life, I often had to remind you to put yourself first, because you were always looking for ways to help others, no matter the circumstances. I remember receiving a photo of you in a hospital gown, in a hospital bed, with a computer on your lap, and below the image said, "Mom writing a letter of recommendation even in the hospital." You continued caring for others no matter how tired or busy you were. And I aspire to embody that in my life one day. You insisted on taking me on alternative breaks starting at age 5 because you wanted me to grow and to learn and to see the world, and because you were a strong single woman who couldn't leave her kid alone with a babysitter for 2 weeks. I can't tell you how grateful I am that you took me on 10 alternative breaks, more than any Georgetown or LMU student I've met, because it taught me to encounter communities and people different from me and to work and serve one another in solidarity. You showed me how to be compassionate to others and how to be empathetic to those in pain or suffering. Your superpowers have allowed me to follow in your footsteps, but you left big shoes to fill. The hardest superpower to learn is to love like you loved. I'm so grateful that I got to be your daughter. As your daughter, I was lucky to receive your unconditional love and everything that came with it. Your love was believing in me when I didn't think I could. It was pushing me to be better when I wasn't. It was telling me the harsh truth when I didn't want to hear it. Now I understand why you loved the way you did. You loved everyone else so deeply that you couldn't stand to see someone give up, so you provided them support along the way. You loved everyone else. You loved your students from Lennox to LMU so profoundly that their successes were instrumental to your happiness. You taught me to find people who needed the most love and shower them with it. Something I wish you had done better was allow yourself to be loved. You know that you made an impact on a few people's lives, but look around at this room and see the hundreds of people who loved you so much that they wanted to show their adoration for you by coming today, and those that can't be here. Let heaven be a place where you finally know the love of those you touched, and let heaven be a place where you have a window to the universe through which you can see the glowing hearts of each person that you inspired. I'm so grateful to be Pam Rector's daughter, and I want to thank you for loving people so hard that they are my family now. I love you, Mama. May you finally rest and free your mind among the clouds.
Please stand. Well, now, Mary Oliver has a poem, and it's called When Death Comes, and it says in part this: when it's over, I want to say all my life I was a bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened and full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. I was at a Dodger game once, and I can't remember the details of it, but it was a young woman named Erica who came up to me and recognized me or knew me or something, and within 2 minutes she had mentioned the word Lennox, which led me to say Pam. And her eyes glistened with tears, and she said, Pam Rector changed my life. Pam didn't just visit this world, she altered its course. Mother Teresa thought that the problem in the world is that we just have drawn our family circle too small. Consequently, Pam was never, as the poem says, finding herself sighing and frightened, full of argument. She never cared to circle the wagons, only to widen the circle, to draw the family circle large and spacious and expansive. For Pam, there was no need for an in crowd because everybody was in. She understood the notion of the early Christians that they would greet each other with a big old fat wet kiss on the lips. And they did that because you only did that with your blood relatives. So this was a signal that this Christian thing was going to be something different, wildly inclusive. So the readings are obvious ones for Pam in one sense, because they're about action and deeds and living as though the truth were true and knowing how to put first things recognizably first. She once wrote me in an email, me and Jesus, we just need to be straight with each other. Everything else is noise. She went farther and she said, what would Jesus do should always be our mantra. And one day, she writes, the church will be led by this. She took seriously what Jesus took seriously, which are those four things: inclusion, nonviolence, unconditional loving kindness, and compassionate acceptance. So the gospel, Matthew 25, is an obvious one in some sense. It's because it's about deeds and action and feed the hungry and clothe the naked and welcome the stranger. But like Jesus, Pam was a mystic, and she saw through a mystical lens, which saw wholeness in people. She was never partial about you. She saw wholeness. She understood the illusion of separation, which is why she constantly created family and community. She She was connective tissue. She joined us together. There's so many groups here, like the comadres, Consuelo and Ellie and Maria Elena, and she would just, these little cell groups that she would create and foster. And because of her mystical vision, she knew that even the separation of the goats from the sheep didn't make any sense. She knew it was an illusion. For Pam knew there are no goats. She knew that there's just sheep, and the rest of us who don't know we're sheep yet. She drew the family circle large. She imagined a circle with no one standing outside of it. A mutual friend of ours, Eileen McDermott, told me that years ago, Eileen was going to go to Pelican Bay, which is way up north and very retirado, and only the toughest of the toughest are there, in level 4 prison. So she was going to go there. Well, Pam heard about it, and she said, you got to visit this kid. So Eileen went there, and then she called out this guy. Somehow he was in the SHU, the Security Housing Unit, which means he was the toughest of the toughest of the toughest. And he comes out, big, huge tattooed guy, and didn't know who this white woman was and who she had. Why did he call her out? And if you've ever been there, it's big, thick glass and foam. And all he said was Pam Rector. And this big, huge guy just melted. He went from 35 to 15. He was a kid in Lynch again. And he couldn't believe that he was on her mind. And the sheer mention of her name, Pam Rector, pulled the favor out of this kid. And for a moment, suddenly he felt favorable. The authentic Christian life for Pam was never a grim duty. It was joyous. It was playful. It was free. And she always maintained a light grasp on life. We had a shorthand with each other. When I was going through chemotherapy, she thought it was hilarious because she found a taco stand called Tacos Chemo. Well, chemo is a name, but it's also chemo, If anybody who's ever had chemo would like to receive it by way of a taco. But it became our shorthand whenever either of us was going through any kind of health thing. It would be P.S. Tacos Chemo. And it was a way to kind of signal, have a light grasp. It's no big deal. Who didn't feel relief when you spotted Pam at some event, like a cocktail hour? And I did this all the time. I'd make a beeline to her because I thought, oh God, great, Pam's here, And it was always hilarious, and she would always talk shit to me. About me, with me, at me. Oh my God, I loved it. It was invigorating. And I didn't want to sit with anybody else. All the while she was, as the Buddhists say, the finger pointing to the moon. She always knew she wasn't the moon. She pointed beyond herself to this God who loves us without measure and without regret. Always connective tissue, joining you to your best self and each other. And you always felt that in the end, she had mysteriously pulled the favor out of you, and you felt favorable. No us and them, no sheep and goats, no separation, all family, inclusive, circle wide and spacious connective tissue. Everyone belonging and planning a big old fat wet kiss on each other's lips. Pam Rector, mystic in the shape of God's heart, need not have wondered or worried if she made of her life something particular and real. She didn't just visit this world. She altered its course. Please stand.